LoreWarrior Online, PPR-5S, Salamander. Overview. Defiance Industries' production team prides itself on the radical appearance, design, and performance profile of the PPR-5S Salamander Assault Support Mech. But critics, over the years, since its debut, have derided the design as a missile-based knockoff of the venerable Awesome. Though these accusations, born, some say, of a feud between the Alliance's biggest mech manufacturer and its corporate rivals, bear little weight, Defiance's public relations department have found the rumours annoyingly persistent and must often defend the creative integrity of the company's design teams during press conferences. Capabilities. Though its chassis is radically different, the Salamander shares numerous design points with the AWS-9M Awesome. Weighing in at 80 tons like the Awesome, the Salamander has the same mobility and hulking form, and devotes much of its tonnage to its primary weapon systems. Like the Awesome, the Salamander is meant primarily for support and siege missions, to stand at a distance and drown its foes under a relentless storm of weapons fire. The Awesome accomplishes this mission through heat-intensive particle cannon fire. The Salamander does it with 3 LRM-20 racks, each supplied with 3 tons of ammunition. Deployment. Production got off to a slow start due to the unusual engineering of the left arm assembly, but the Salamander has become increasingly common in the command, assault, and support sections of several LAAF units stationed throughout the Alliance. Though originally intended for heavy fire support along the clan front, many of these machines saw extensive action during the recent FedCom Civil War, where their pilots turned their devastating firepower against many mech warriors they might have called fellow countrymen only a decade prior. Variants. 4 variants of the Salamander have surfaced since its debut. The first of these, designated the 5T model, mounts 3 LRM-15 racks in place of the standard 20s and downgrades the medium lasers, devoting the tonnage savings to a bigger engine for a 33% increase in its maximum ground speed. The 6S and 6T models, by comparison, retain the same engine and movement profiles but trade in one of the LRM-20s for different weapon systems. On the 6S, the trade upgrades the medium lasers to pulse variants and allows for the mounting of an SRM-6 launcher, plus Artemis fire control systems for all missiles. On the 6T model, the medium lasers are again upgraded to pulses, while a large pulse laser is added for a more solid and accurate punch at medium range. During fighting on Militia against the Jade Falcons in August of 3064, General Sharon Bryan's Salamanders proved unequal to the terrain and so wasted much of their long-range capabilities. To counter this, the radically new 7S installs a Lyran light engine. The LRM-20s make way for LRM-15s enhanced with Artemis. The medium lasers for extended range versions are also upgraded. And finally, removal of a half-ton of armor to allow for the inclusion of jump jets. Notable mech warriors. Commandant Jim Wendt. A battalion commander in the 8th FedCom RCT, Jim Wendt was a model officer in the AWFC, even though he considered himself far more Lyran than FedCom. Because he rose through the ranks honestly, many of his FedSons-born colleagues often commented that the cultured and tactically brilliant officer was nothing like the stereotypical social general who so plagued the Lyran command structure before and throughout the FedCom era. Though Wendt publicly took these remarks as friendly jibes, deep inside he resented his FedSon comrades. When the simmering Steiner-Davian hostility exploded into civil war on Cathal in 3062, however, he didn't balk at fighting. During the battle for the city of Radcliffe, Wendt, at the helm of his Salamander, led a charge against elements of the Cathal CMM and engaged the militia commander Damien Zibbler in a duel to the death. The arrival of Wendt's company nearly turned the tide against the militia as the two commanders duelled, but even as Wendt and his forces took out Zibbler's victor, a flight of militia aerospace fighters engulfed his Salamander in incendiary fire. Already overheated from the raging firefight, Wendt's ammunition bins exploded, forcing him to eject to his death inside the raging inferno. Though his defeat at Radcliffe led to the destruction of the rest of his command, and ultimately the loss of Cathal itself, Jim Wendt received a posthumous award for valour in the face of the enemy for his final actions on Cathal. Oof, what a way to go. So, it's an 80-ton assault mech with a chassis built on the Chariot Type 4 with endo steel. The power plant is the Pitman 320XL, cruise speed of 43, max speed of 65 with no jump jets. Armour is the Glasgow Limited with case, not Glasgow. Armament is 3 Doombud LRM-20 racks, 2 Defiant B3M medium lasers, manufactured by Defiance Industries on the primary factory of Hesperus 2. Communications system is Tharhees HM10, with targeting and tracking as Tharhees Ares 7. It is a 4 and 6 assault, which makes perfect sense given its role on the field, doesn't need to be that fast, and it can sink 20 heat with its 10 double heat sinks. It has an armor value of 247, giving it 42 on the CT with 8 on the rear, 28 on right and left torsos with 6 on the rear, and 26 right and left arm armor, and 34 leg armor. Clearly, the idea is the fear of the legs getting blown off on these things, because the armor on the legs is always higher than the arms, which I always found odd, personally. But, yeah, it's a pretty straightforward mech. It's something I'd actually love to be able to play in a game like MechWarrior Online, or MechWarrior 5, Living Legends. Even HPS Battletech as a mod. It'd be great to see the Salamander turn up. What a brutal mech. Triple LRM-20s with a pair of medium lasers to protect it. Isn't that bad? It's not a bad build. With basically, I think it's 1 ton for each launcher. Still doesn't mean it's going to last a long time. On tabletop, that's 18 rounds of fire, which isn't bad. It's more than enough, to be honest. Especially given the fact that that's 60 missiles it can throw in a single turn at a target if it stood still, which is a lot of missiles. You get good rolls on that, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt a lot. The art is a really nice update for it. It's not a bad looking mech. It's decent for an assault. So yeah, not really much else to say about it. I quite like the Salamander. Again, it's one of those things that I think, in the right hands of a player on the table, he's that person is going to be an absolute fucking godsend for some events or matches, because it's going to turn the tide if it gets a good roll, or it's going to get that early shot that's just going to cripple a target. And if you're using it as an enemy, it's quite a worrying thing to come up against, because you're going to want to close that distance as soon as humanly possible. But at the same time, it's an assault mech, so it can still take a few hits before it starts to really suffer any serious damage, and that also means that it can get support in that time. So yeah, you got to engage this thing with either equal ranged firepower, longer range firepower, or you got to get up close and just savage it. But yeah, it's just not a bad one. I don't dislike the Salamander. It's pretty cool. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe one day in the future, some of these 3055 designs will make an appearance. But until then, have a good one, everyone. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.